Welcome back to the Grottu Orloff Show, episode 13. I believe it's the 23rd of October, something like that, in the year 2020. Well, special Friday edition here, coming to you. Went to a comic book store yesterday. Local comic shop called Cosmic Comics. And, I've been hearing a lot about this. You heard of this thing? It's called Batman 3 Jokers. They're always giving these posters away free whenever I go in a particular comic shop. I pick them up because it's free. So, it's, I look at it and instantly I can just look at this drawing and tell it's British. Something about it. It looks like a British artist. And then you got dripping blood on a hook there, like a meat hook, okay? Well, that's kind of a bad sign. Now, apparently that's really super popular. People are going nuts buying 40 different variant covers for every issue of that. And that's great. But I went and I was looking through the new comics history. I actually bought a couple of new comics. It's amazing, huh? But anyway, I was looking at the first issue and the second issue of that Batman 3 Jokers, and I guess the third part is coming out soon, and I guess it's supposed to be they call it a black label comic. I guess it means it's for adults. I've got heartburn. I guess the whole point is that there's been 3 different Jokers that Batman has discovered, right? So I pick up and flip through, and the artwork's good. I'm trying to determine if I'm going to buy this, but as the first page I open to in issue 2, there's a naked man tied to a chair. Now you don't see anything; you see him from the side, but okay. So you got male nude bondage. First page I open up to. And I figure it's Bruce Wayne. Later I did some research on people reviewing this on YouTube, and apparently it's one of the Robins, I guess Jason Todd. So anyway, so I guess they must be in Arkham Asylum, because then there's a whole bunch of dead nude male bodies floating in a pool. And then I see, like, the Joker's, like, hitting someone in the head, with this meat hook, And blood's everywhere. And then all these, I guess it's all the dead male bodies that were floating in this pool, I guess, of the Joker fluid, the chemical that created the Joker. Anyway, there's a bunch of naked people rushing toward, I see a whole lot of nudity in this comic, and a whole lot of blood. And I'm not a prude, but, I guess I would be called a conservative, and I buy underground comics, and I've got a lot of stuff that would be considered R-rated, or, in my comic collection and stuff, but to me, comics are, well, they aren't necessarily for kids, but Batman is a comic for kids. In fact, Alan Moore, a couple of weeks ago, I was reading, he was talking about how upset he was about The Killing Joke, writing The Killing Joke. And he says, looking back on it now, I never would have done that with a character that had been around for generations, Batman, where, Commissioner Gordon's tied up nude, as I recall, and Batgirl is shot in the stomach, and she's paralyzed, and she was in a wheelchair in the comic for like 20 years, even though I don't think that story was really supposed to be in continuity. They put it in continuity, and they take a character that's merchandised for toys, and you put her in a wheelchair, and the artwork was beautiful in it, and the writing was great, but it it always just gave me the creeps. And I have that in my collection, there was another, I don't sell many comics, but in the 90s I got rid of a comic. I sold it to Jason at Forbidden Books. I don't remember what it was called, but it was a big deal. Maybe in the late 80s, I remember comic book stores were open on Thanksgiving Day because they were going to release this big new Batman comic. Everyone was excited about it. I don't remember who wrote and drew it or what it was called. You'll probably tell me in the comments down below, which you can access after smashing the like button and liking the smash button. In this comic, the Joker was dressed in a bridal gown and he was going to marry Batman. And so basically the whole point is there's an attraction of the Joker to Batman because he's really gay. And that was heavily hinted at in this comic. I don't know if it was hinted at, I think it was just pretty obvious. And because DC did that, when they created the Batman animated series in the 90s, they had to invent the character Harley Quinn so that the whole notion that the Joker was actually sexually attracted to Batman, they could get around that. So no, he's got a girlfriend. Forget that story. But anyway, whatever that comic was, I actually got rid of it. I sold a few books, and I must have been hungry or something, but I sold that comic because just something about it creeped me out. And part of being, they say being a conservative is bad. You're a terrible person if you're a conservative. Well, if you conserve comics, well, then you bag and board them, you take care of them. If you conserve the conservation of the environment, that's a good thing. I think the whole point of it being conservative, as far as I see, is to keep things the way they traditionally have been. At least the things that are good in our society, keep them the way they are. When I was 4, Jim Morrison was arrested on stage, I think in Florida, for saying the F word. And now the top song, and it may not be anymore, the top song in America a few weeks back was WAP, Wet Ass Pussy, by Cardiac Ward B or whatever. So what's happening to our society? We're becoming more vulgar and degenerate, and it seems like everything's bringing us down, the entertainment world, including these comics. And I wanted to buy that Batman comic. I didn't. What I wound up getting, you're probably wondering, what are the new comics you got, Grottu? Well, I got 3 comics, but one wasn't new. Well, it's cool, when you buy comics at Cosmic Comics, they give you boards and bags to put them in. And I think there's some stores that just already have them bagged and board when you buy them. I don't know how most stores are. I had to get this because the Thing is my favorite comic book character. And the great thing, there's a ton of these Marvel titles that just have the hero on the front and then the title on the back. And I don't have the money to buy them all. But the Thing, even if this comic book turns out to be shitty, it still can just be framed. And Alex Ross is so amazing. Look at that. Okay, so it's Fantastic Four number 24. I need my glasses. Apparently, where are my glasses? Oh shit, this is gonna be a terrible episode of the Grottu Orloff show without my glasses. But anyway, they have below it in tiny print, they have a legacy number because they kept starting the numbering over on Fantastic Four so many times to con idiots into buying new issue number 1s that they have to tell you. And I think it says that this would have been issue 600 and something if they didn't do that. Anyway, so, looking in this, I guess that artwork's not too bad. I want to like new comics. I want to like new music. I want to be able to turn on the radio and hear music that's wonderful. It just doesn't seem like it happens. But looking at this comic and the interior art, It doesn't look too bad. That kind of looks good. I like how that's drawn, so I'm going to give this a shot. Yeah, the artwork looks traditional enough to, I just saw Willie Lumpkin there. Hopefully they do that. Whatever artist this is not bad. So I'm going to read it and see if it's horrible. Hopefully it won't be. You know, John Byrne took over for a long time, several years on Fantastic Four in the 80s, and it was great. The artwork was beautiful. And then he started doing things I didn't like giving Johnny Storm some stupid fishbowl haircut, which a hot rodder would never have. And then he had Johnny Storm going out with Alicia Masters, the Thing's girlfriend. It creeped me out. I didn't like that. But let's look at some vintage comics. I'm still going through pulling stuff out of boxes, and that's why you tune in. Here's my, this is a key issue. I was thinking about sending this off to CGC to have it graded, but it's a very key issue. It's Devil Kids, number 62. Yeah, this is the first issue. This is the issue where Hot Stuff learned how to toast bread using his breath, and so it's very sought after by collectors. I remember this comic being kind of fun. Destroy. Oh, here's where Jack Kirby was trying to raise money for a lawsuit against Marvel to get his original artwork back, and a lot of comic artists came in and helped out with stories to help out Kirby. Thank all the funds for this comic. I think that's how it worked. Or maybe it was a lawsuit about Howard the Duck. I don't really remember. Might have been for Steve Gerber. I'm confused. Were they trying to help out Steve Gerber, or were they trying to help out Kirby? When you open it up, it's an Eclipse comic, but it really does look like a Marvel comic. You can't even see what I'm looking at. Oh, here's some from the amazing Atlas line. Obviously, I was just going through a D box. The Destructor, Steve Ditko art. Shit, that's Steve Ditko and Wally Wood. Now, you can just look at the girl's face and tell that's Wally Wood, the way the girl's figure is drawn. But the pose of the hero is very Steve Ditko, so I'd say Steve Ditko penciled that, and Wally Wood inked it as my... This one, over here it says Lieber. Lieber was Stan Lee's brother. Oh, look at this. The Destructor, number 3. This character is very much a knockoff, I think, of Thundra, the Femazon that you and might have encountered in Fantastic Four. Starting to cough a lot. Oh no! More Frankenstein. I always point out whenever Frankenstein appears in a comic book, for those Frankenstein fans. Oh man, look at this. It's the classic Charles Atlas, you know, bully on the beach ad. But now, instead of dynamic tension, free karate jiu-jitsu course. Here's Toys R Us Detective Comics little freebie, the debut of Robin. Yeah, here's some Detective Comics. $3.92. I always have to show you this cover. Another Frankenstein appearance. Frankenstein was everywhere in the 60s and 70s. In fact, you could make a case that right before the Beatles became popular in January of '64, when they first made their appearance on Ed Sullivan in the US, Frankenstein's monster was like a really big character in kid culture. So whenever people wanted to sell a comic, you know, for a flagging title like Jerry Lewis or Bob Hope, you know, they'd always put Frankenstein in, and because people love those movies. And then, of course, the Munsters came along. All right. Another key issue for those of you that are key issue collectors. Damn. I really hate all, it's just, I better just be quiet. All this key, people that only collect key issues, how depressing can you get? But to each their own. Why, look at that. Donny Osmond. That dates this. You know, One Bad Apple, the Osmond Brothers song, really does sound like the Jackson 5. Yeah, this was that era I was telling you about a couple episodes back, where just about every cover, early 70s, late 60s, just about every cover, one of the DC heroes is about to kill himself, or they're injecting drugs into their veins. It was just they were trying to be relevant and trying to compete against Marvel by giving their heroes problems. This may be a little bit too much of a problem, writing your suicide letter, or just plain out having Batman turn into Charles Joseph Whitman. Look at that. I always like this cover. You know, this is about as dark as I like my mainstream comics to get. The way they were 45, 50 years ago. But when you start stripping your main characters naked and having them beaten bloody, and then you have a whole bunch of naked people attacking, and they're all male, I start to like close up my wallet and put away my debit card, because shit, it's just too depressing. Detective Comics 100-page giant. I hear that Walmart has stopped making their 100-page giants that someone told me were $20. I never could find them in Walmart. Every time I asked, they, well, I don't know, we don't have comics here. They have no clue. Indeed. Oh, look at this. See, Batman's always shooting people or being killed or being arrested. Shit, there's a skeleton inside that Batman statue. I hate when that happens. Oh, this was about the time I was in 5th grade and this new artist came along. Nobody remembers him. A little EC. His name was Ernie Chan, but sometimes they would write it out Ernie C-H-U-A. Ernie, it looked like Ernie Chua. I guess he's a Filipino artist. And, you know, it was like Ernie Chan, Ernie Chua. It's the same guy. I don't know exactly what the deal is, but these really stood out on the spinner rack. This artist was great. He did a lot of covers for DC around that time. Oh, here he is again. Always kind of like the way they redid the Detective Comics logo for a little while, but it's another cover. And there it is. Yeah, I swear that's his Ernie Chua. But it's really dynamic and, no pun intended, and great looking and really striking. Here's Batman being attacked by rats. Again, the same artist. There's the signature there. I don't hear people talking about, oh, actually I did hear the Crypt Keeper of the comic Crypt Keeper of Castle Hills talking about him the other day, and he was pronouncing it Chua. Here he is again. Look at the coloring on this cover. It's so gorgeous. Someday this artist will be rediscovered. But probably not through my videos. I'm not getting a whole lot of views on my videos, but someday I'll be gone and someone will discover these videos on, God damn it, on YouTube, and I'll become famous. This is not Ernie Chua, Ernie Chan. But these are late 70s. Jonah Hex is a great comic. Black Lightning is apparently a TV show now. Never seen it. Alright. I just kind of like that cover. You could be in the Superman movie. Probably an extra. Yeah, I don't know if these are key issues or not. Probably. Oh, Deadshot. I think he's some big deal now, so that's probably worth something. Because it's so important when comics are valuable. Okay, here's a Joker cover, so it's probably a key issue. $4.75 for those of you unable to freeze frame. Oh, Clayface. Yeah, I was reading, I picked this up monthly back in those days. Shit. Oh, yes, indeed. Now, my two brothers are about 10, 11 years older than me, and when this happened, when DC went to $1, even though they have, you know, more content, content, I hate that word. I mean, he couldn't believe when he saw that a comic book cost $1. He was like, he was really pissed about it. Because when he bought them, they were 12 cents, 15 cents. But this is what happened for a while, and then I think DC decided, nah, they scaled back to 60 cents or something. Yes, 1979, when they went to dollar comics. And they had cool back covers, I mean, $1 was a lot of money back then. Oh, I don't know if you've ever seen this show, Diver Dan. Look it up on YouTube. It's a cool television show. It's live action, and it has this diver and a mermaid are real people, and all the fish are puppets and it's made to look like it's underwater. And it's a black and white TV show from the 50s or early 60s. You gotta watch it. And you can sometimes get these little, that little budget label Alpha Video that puts out all the public domain movies with kind of nice packaging. I think they have a couple of volumes of it. Wyatt's Gold Key, Doc Savage. Fantastic. This guy here, this is a real guy that modeled for these paintings on the paperback covers when they started reprinting the Doc Savage pulp stories from the 30s and 40s. They started reprinting them in the 60s, and they got this kind of grizzled model to model for Doc Savage. His name was Steve Holland. And, which is kind of funny because I used to know a guy named Steve Holland. Look at the way they color Asian characters. Anyway, there was a 1950s Flash Gordon television show, black and white. It was actually filmed in Germany, I think, to save money or something. But this guy plays Flash Gordon in that. So if you want to see Doc Savage actually move around and talk, you can seek that out. And it's all on YouTube. You can get just about anything on YouTube. And then Doc Savage, the Man of Bronze, Marvel got the rights for a while. It's kind of weird the way they colored him. But yeah, these Doc Savage comics were great. You know, Marvel had success with Conan, so they thought, we'll try out other pulp heroes and see how they go. Didn't last long. It just lasted for a while, maybe 5, 6 issues maybe, during the early Bronze Age, during the 20-cent era. And then when George Powell put out the Doc Savage movie around 75, Marvel started doing Doc Savage again, but it's a black and white magazine, and it was really well done. I remember the first issue had the Ron Ely cover. They got Ron Ely, the actor that played Tarzan in the 60s TV show, to play Doc Savage. And there were things in the movie that worked. This is actually, I think, the story that, I may be wrong, I think that's the story they adapted in the movie. Just overall, they went for kind of a camp feel, and it was, it's one of those things that I'm glad it exists, but could have been so much better. This is Charlton. These are the Roman soldiers. And the paper inside the Charlton comics is holding up better than I would have thought it would. There are all these girly comics that came out in the 90s, I guess it was, or the 80s. I don't know. Here's Dinosaurus, based on the hit film. Isn't that a lovely painting? Dinosaurus. This is Dell, actually. But Dell is a lot like Gold Key in that you've got these painted, beautiful covers, and the art is very pedestrian inside. Modern comics, those were reprints. But E-Man is a great character that was put out by Charlton and then brought back later in the late 70s. Let's see, these are reprints, but here's a real one that I bought at the Lone Star little convenience store in San Antonio, Texas. Why, it's Frankenstein again. Told you, Frankenstein is huge. It's like Frankenstein was almost bigger than the Beatles there for a while. But yes, it's a real Charlton, not a modern comics reprint. Gain weight. I apparently took advice from that ad. But I just weighed myself 263. Shit. But my wife and I are going on a diet, and we'll lose lots of weight. The studio audience seems to think that's funny, but fuck the studio audience. They're a bunch of communist motherfuckers that don't think I'll lose weight. Well, I'll show them. The fucking cocksuckers. Oh yeah, E-Man was brought back by First Comics, and they got the same artist. I think, was it Joe Staton? I think so. I don't remember, because I've slept since then. Yeah, they brought back E-Man, just not Charlton. Well, so you think you know all about E-Man? Well, you're wrong. Oh, early 70s, they reprinted EC Comics. It was an underground comics publisher that did it. And inside they look just like the original EC Comics. East Coast Comics, I guess, did it. And they, yeah, they reprinted, this is before Russ Cochran came out with the box sets. Oh, I love this as a kid. This is a story in here that's so great. Oh, this one, Home to Stay. That's one that is a ripoff of a Ray Bradbury story. And Ray Bradbury read this story and said, hey, that's my story. They stole my story. But he loved it. So he wrote a letter to them, halfway joking, saying, hey, I loved your adaptation of my story in your latest issue, but I think the check has gotten lost in the mail. And so I'd like to continue working with you guys in the future, so if you could correct this. So they got him money, and then from then on they were able to do Ray Bradbury stories in the EC Science Fiction Comics and credit him on the cover. Yeah, it's a story, Home to Stay, where I think it's based on the Ray Bradbury story, Rocket Man. And that's this kid, you know, his father goes off into space all the time. He's a rocket man, kind of like a trucker today. And anyway, this mother's always saying to him, I'm reading the story for you. It's like, you know, he's missing his father. She says, well, look up. See, there's a falling star. Wish on that, and you know that you're. And he says, "I wish I may. I wish I might. My father will be home to stay." And but what you know as the reader is that there's a problem on the father's spaceship, and he gets separated from the ship. Something, and he's falling through the atmosphere, burning up. And so the falling star that the little kid and the mom are wishing on is actually the father burning to death upon re-entry into the atmosphere. And this story is about like some horrible virus or something that kills off anyone over a certain age. So after and it's about the last guy born that's immune. And so whenever he gets through elementary school, they close up the elementary school, and they close up the high school, and he becomes a scientist, and he tries to figure out, if I can just go back in time and bring a man and woman back to the future, our time, they could be a new Adam and Eve, and we could continue on, because the whole, that's what, everyone's been made sterile. So basically, he's trying to figure out a way to have human beings go on. So you've got to get some people from the past that weren't exposed to this radiation or whatever. So he builds a time portal, right? And he says, well, if I put this going back into the Grand Central Station in New York, there's tons, thousands of people go through every day. It should be pretty easy to trick. Just some man and some random woman will just walk through this time portal and come into today's time period, and then they could be our new saviors of the human race. But as I recall, all they were getting were men, and there were no women coming through the time portal. It's like, what the hell's going on? So he goes through to see what the problem is, and the time portal was right at the door of a men's room, so it's just men going in. So, there's no time to do anything else, so that's the shock ending on that story. God, I love the shock endings on EC stories. They were like the Twilight Zone, even more twisted. Yeah, these are all the, and they had pinups on the back. It's weird that later Disney was actually reprinting EC comics, you know. But these are the first ones to be reprinted. Right about 20 years later in the early 70s. Here's A Haunt of Fear. These great drawings on the back. Ghastly Graham Ingalls. Al Feldstein. Shock suspense stories. Oh, this is actually from Free Comic Book Day. It's an EC sampler. This is from when these were being reprinted by Gladstone, which was a Disney company. And this is a reprint of a 50s Mad comic called Eh. And they got a Herbie ad on the back. Amazing. It's in black and white. Other than that, I don't know if you know about this comic, 8 Ball. You probably do. But that's where Ghost World comes from. And Ghost World, if you have not seen Ghost World, find the movie Ghost World. It is the best movie ever made about collectors. Ghost World. It's one of my favorite movies. The Elektra saga, a bunch of Elektra comics here. More E-Man. Oh, this is like a wraparound cover. That's kind of cool. Whew. It's hot in here. It's really cold outside. This damn shirt was the only shirt I had clean, so forgive me. It's it was from work, some stupid pie day. Oh, more Charlton. Doomsday +1, you know, very reminiscent of Planet of the Apes and Commandy, but it's early John Byrne art. They've subsequently reprinted this, I think, but it's the world after nuclear war kind of fun. Doomsday +1. Lots of fun for everyone. What else do we have to entertain you here? Oh, I always liked this artwork. It was a later period DC horror comic. But she was Madame Zatanna. I think in the Swamp Thing TV show, they have recast her, and she looks very different. But I think she later became a character of some consequence in DC. Maybe still is. But back then, these are comics that, if you're a goth-type girl or guy, you would probably want to seek these out on mycomicshop.com. Indeed. Doorway to Nightmare. Yes, Madame Xanadu. Oh, this is a collector's issue. You know it is because it says it on there. So when it says it's a collector's issue, you know it's a key issue. Yes, I think I need to send this off to CGC and have it slabbed so I could never read it again. This is from Dell. This is forgotten. I need to rebag this. This movie, Dragon Slayer, I saw this at the Six Flags Mall movie theater. It's actually a phenomenal. I thought it was a really cool movie. The dragon was, I guess, stop motion animated. It was really cool. Only problem I had with this movie is the lead character had that stupid curly World's Greatest Hero kind of William Cat kind of perm. Here's Doom Patrol, but it's early 70s, and what they're doing is reprinting 60s stuff. Same thing happened with X-Men in this time period. They were reprinting their old stuff, but DC and Marvel were trying to fight to dominate these spinner racks, and so they were reprinting all kinds of old stuff. Any kind of titles they could put out to dominate the rack, they would. Before Titans, Doom Patrol. So this is the official index. I love the Doom Patrol. I haven't watched the second season. The television show is, like I was saying earlier, it's very R-rated. I enjoyed the first season, but you know, I think same thing with the Teen Titans TV show that was on the DC universe. I guess with just a little trimming, they could take away the real excessive nudity and shit from those. Where younger 12-year-olds, 11-year-olds could watch them. I just not thrilled with turning things into something they're not. Domino Lady. This is just girl art, good girl art, and it was done in the 80s when there were a million comics like this on the market. I guess they're still on the market. Vampirella and Red Sonja versus Betty and Veronica. Don't you love the girl ducks? I really liked Magica Dispel, the witch duck from the Uncle Scrooge and Donald Duck comics, because it was like a vampira duck from Disney. I love her. Dr. Spectre. That cover's great. Wow. Sea monkeys. They've reprinted this stuff in like hardcover editions. I think the hardcover used this painting on the cover. More Dr. Spectre. Looks like the zombie from Tales of the Zombie. Still more Dr. Spectre. The Occult Files of Dr. Spectre. Look at that. Reminds me of a Star Trek Gold Key cover. Yeah, and they used to sell these little dividers at Lone Star Comics. They charged me $1.29 for that. Let's see what we got. I bought this at the Base Exchange, the PX, in 3rd grade, I think. Maybe 4th grade. I don't know, I'm going by the 25-cent price tag. Yes, indeed. Frank Brunner. I hear people on YouTube pronouncing it Brunner. That's probably how it's pronounced, but since I've been pronouncing it Brunner for almost 50 years, it's hard to switch. You just don't know how things are pronounced until you actually hear someone say it. Isn't that great? Doctor Strange is on a diet. Oh, look at this. Amazing. Looks a lot like a Tomb of Dracula cover. Oh, what do we got here? Look how they drew Wormworld to look like the Westworld logo. And it's not really to cash in on Westworld, because Westworld this is 1977, and I think Westworld came out, what, 74, 75? So it's not like they're cashing in on something super current. The rest is just some generic Doctor Strange. You've seen this shit. You all have this stuff. I need to show you stuff that's obscure, not stuff that you can find at your local comic store. What else did I pull out? Is that it? It's got to make this an awfully short episode of the Grottu Orloff Show. Well, that's okay. Grottu will be back soon, in color, here on the Grottu broadcasting system. I'm missing a Donald Trump rally to do this show, I'll have you know, but I'll watch it on the replay. And he's going to do another show tonight, rally tonight. But I want to rant about something before I go, and that's, in the cosmetic world, my wife's a cosmetologist, and they call makeup product. It's like, we've got some new product in. So you may know that. But on YouTube, everybody calls it, like this is the Grottu Orloff Show. And I call it, this is a new show. I'm not saying I'm providing new content for you. I don't like the word content for what we're doing. It sort of takes away, it dehumanizes. So try not to use the word content. I'm providing new content for you. That just sounds very very much of the dehumanized AI future world that we don't want to be a part of. We're not providing content, we're providing shows and a new episode. So don't use the word content. And, oh, don't ever use app. I have a new application on my phone. Say the whole word. That's what you got to do. You got to preserve the English language. The English language is getting destroyed. So don't say WAP, say wet ass pussy. Say you've got to, words have meaning. Make sure you're using the words. And with that, Grottu Orloff will say a fond farewell to you.